Atheists, Arrogance and Ignorance on ID. Welcome to today's video, where we'll be diving deep into a critical topic: the difference between genuine debunking and offering a mere opinion. In this video, we'll address common misconceptions about intelligent design, ID, and evolutionary theory, highlighting how spelling errors or flawed logic don't debunk a claim. They simply deflect from the real issues. We'll explore the empirical evidence supporting ID, counter some of the common criticisms, and discuss why making claims without solid evidence is just speculation. So, let's get into the facts and separate speculation from truth. In any intellectual debate, it's essential to distinguish between debunking a claim and simply offering a different opinion. Debunking involves presenting clear empirical evidence that disproves a statement, whereas a different opinion can be based on personal beliefs or preferences, often without solid evidence. Rude debunking goes deeper, engaging with the argument's substance and showing where it fails based on evidence and reason. In the case of intelligent design, ID, critics often dismiss it as nothing more than an attempt to arrive at a predetermined conclusion, that God exists. They claim that ID has nothing to do with science. This is a common but misguided assumption. ID, at its core, argues that certain features of the universe and living organisms are best explained by an intelligent cause, not an undirected process such as natural selection. The claim that ID is not science fails to engage with the empirical evidence provided by ID proponents. A common criticism from atheists, such as "LOL, that is dishonest." ID proponents argue only for the purpose to arrive at a predetermined conclusion. God shows a misunderstanding of what ID seeks to address. Intelligent design does not require one to accept a religious conclusion. Rather, it is focused on the observation of design in nature. As ID proponent Michael Behe notes, the conclusion of intelligent design flows naturally from the data itself, not from sacred books or sectarian beliefs. This quote emphasizes that ID is driven by empirical evidence, not religious doctrine. The claim that ID has nothing to do with science ignores the fact that ID relies on observable data. Take, for example, the concept of irreducible complexity, which ID proponents argue is an empirical challenge to Darwinian evolution. An irreducibly complex system is one where removing any part causes the system to cease functioning. The bacterial flagellum is a key example of this. It is made up of numerous interdependent parts that must all be present simultaneously for it to work. The evolutionary argument that such systems could arise gradually through random mutations and natural selection is speculative, without empirical evidence for a step-by-step pathway. Pointing out that evolutionary proponents rely on co-option or gradual modifications to explain irreducibly complex systems often reveals that these explanations lack empirical backing. Simply asserting that something like the bacterial flagellum was co-opted from simpler systems does not provide the necessary evidence for such a process. As ID theorist William Dembski writes, the key premise of intelligent design is straightforward. There are certain features of the natural world that are best explained by an intelligent cause because they exhibit patterns that are best attributed to intelligence rather than to undirected natural causes. This highlights the empirical focus of ID, which is far from being an argument solely for the existence of God. Moreover, making a claim without empirical evidence, as in the case of "LOL, that is dishonest," is mere speculation. It is crucial to engage with the actual arguments and data presented by ID rather than dismissing it based on assumptions about religious intent. Let's take a closer look at the empirical basis for ID. One example is the fine-tuning of the universe. The fundamental constants of nature, such as the gravitational constant or the cosmological constant, are set within extremely narrow ranges that allow life to exist. This fine-tuning is recognized by scientists across disciplines, and it points to intentional design. As physicist Fred Hoyle noted, a common-sense interpretation of the facts suggests that a super-intellect has monkeyed with physics, as well as with chemistry and biology, and that there are no blind forces worth speaking about in nature. These observations are not religious. They are based on the evidence of the natural world. While critics may argue that ID is about promoting a religious agenda, the reality is that ID proponents are engaging in the scientific process by examining data and drawing conclusions based on what the evidence suggests. The assertion that ID proponents argue only for a predetermined conclusion of God fails to recognize that ID's arguments are based on observations of complexity and design in nature, not a desire to force a religious conclusion. The difference between making a silly, unsupported claim and presenting empirical evidence is stark. ID uses empirical evidence to point to design, while critics often speculate without addressing the actual data. In conclusion, to dismiss intelligent design as non-science is to overlook the empirical data that supports it. ID is not about pushing a religious conclusion, but about following the evidence where it leads. If evolutionary theory cannot provide step-by-step empirical evidence for how complex systems like the bacterial flagellum arose, then it is those theories that are speculative. Intelligent design stands on the foundation of scientific inquiry, using empirical evidence to argue for the role of intelligence in the development of life. Dismissing it without addressing the actual data is not debunking, it's just offering a different, unsupported opinion. Thanks for watching. I hope this video gave you a clear understanding of the difference between true debunking and just offering a different opinion. Intelligent design is grounded in observable data, and dismissing it without engaging with the actual evidence is not true debunking. Remember, the goal here is to follow the evidence, not preconceived ideas. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more in-depth discussions on important topics like this. See you in the next one.